What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome back to the Sooner Surge. Before we get started with this video, click the subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you can join the Sooner Surge and be a part of it. Also, check out fanstop.com. Make sure you use code SURGE when you get there. You'll get 10% off your first 3 months. Got a little baseball video for you here because the Sooners just finished runner-up in the Big 12 tournament, had a good tournament. And tomorrow, 11 o'clock Central, they will receive their path to Omaha, Hunter. And we're going to kind of talk about maybe some projections, some things you're seeing tonight as they await their fate tomorrow.
Yeah, Oklahoma is officially hosting, at the bare minimum, a regional, likely to host super regionals as well. Finishing first in the Big 12 in regular season, 23-7, 3-game lead over Oklahoma State and Texas. So a very good season for Skip Johnson and the Sooners. And because of that, they're now hosting a regional and likely to host the Supers. They won 3 games out of 4 at the Big 12 tournament, including just some resilient wins against Kansas, both days against Kansas, to make as many errors as they did and still be able to win that game. And then to be down 6-0 and be able to walk it off in the ninth. There's a reason Oklahoma is hosting postseason baseball for the first time since 2010. This year, the Sooners are batting 313 as a team. One of the best offenses in the country right now, and everything's clicking for them. John Spikerman's back. You have no concern. Bryce Madron, he got one at bat over the weekend. Believe it's a quad injury that they're just being precautionary with that. So would expect him to be back for the regional. If he is not, that will be trouble for the Sooners, losing one of their best bats and Madron. But yeah, there's 2 big projections right now. Those come from D1 Baseball America. They've been all over it for the past, I mean, it seems like since the first day of the season, projecting what the field of 64 will look like. This morning, they put out an update before some of the conference tournaments. The biggest one today was Tennessee defeating LSU in the SEC tournament. But D1 Baseball has Oklahoma as an 8 seed with LSU, Oregon, and Southeast Missouri State. LSU, not a team you want to see in the regional.
No, not at all, Hunter. And, for people that aren't huge baseball fans, this is kind of like Joe Lunardi bracketology. I mean, like you said, they've been on it. And it's very interesting to see LSU in there, Hunter. It is not a team, if you're Oklahoma, you really want to see. I mean, it's not like you can really pick, but I'd rather see another team at that 2 spot there in that region for sure, Hunter.
Yeah, LSU was a bubble team entering the weekend, really entering the last few weeks of the season. They've had an uphill battle. The national championship high has been with them. They still have Tommy White, Tommy Tanks, one of the best players in all of college baseball. A first-round pick in July, but they struggled early on. And again, the SEC is the most difficult conference in baseball. There's a reason why they are going to have close to maybe even 12 teams in the tournament, probably 11 or so for them. It's a very good conference. And LSU struggled, but they've turned it on as of late. They started winning a weekend series down the stretch and go into the SEC tournament as the 11th out of 12th seed there, because only 12 go this year in Hoover. And they made it all the way to the championship game. They lost 4-3 to the number 1 seeded Tennessee Volunteers, who, again, bearing any sort of a shocking reveal tomorrow, will be the number 1 seed in this bracket. They have been the best team in college baseball throughout the entire year. They won the SEC championship and they won the tournament championship. So double dipped for them. But yeah, LSU right now, they're clicking on all cylinders. A team with postseason experience that won the national championship a year ago. You do not want them in your regional. I think they are the most dangerous 2 seed in the tournament.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Hunter. One of the reasons they jumped up so far in the projections is when you do really well in the SEC tournament with all the good teams, you're just going to jump. I mean, that's just matter of fact in the way they played down the stretch and the fact that they're returning defending champs here, right? So I think that all matters. But Tennessee, Hunter, uh, somebody's got to win over Tennessee this year. Oh, wait, it's Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oklahoma has a win over Tennessee, and that to me, I think, is what's really gonna. I mean, when you look, I know you don't look at a lot of games early on in the season. A lot of time it's looked at how you're playing near the end, but that's a game that you can pull if you're Oklahoma when you're looking at these super regional hosts. I think that game will weigh heavily on the fact of OU getting a super regional, which I think they will land one. But I think that game's huge in something like that, Hunter.
Oh, absolutely. Oklahoma getting that win 5-1. It was a 10 inning game behind Brendan Girton. Just a good start for him. He gave up, I believe, 1 run in that game. Started to struggle a little bit with control like he has the entire season. But to be able to get that win, Kyson Witherspoon, that was his first time on the mound for Oklahoma this season and really established himself as, at that time, a long-term reliever. I think he threw about 4 innings in that game. Now he's the Saturday starter for the Sooners, and they get the 5-1 win over. I mean, at the time, Tennessee was a top 10 team. Since then, they have been, it seems like for the past month, the number one, the number three team in the country, just depending on how a weekend in SEC baseball goes. And that's a big reason why Oklahoma has the number 5 non-conference strength of schedule. Is that game right there? They won it. Strength of schedule as a whole is 7th. RPI is 15. Again, games like that, to be able to win that game in Arlington against a very, very good Tennessee team is why Oklahoma is very likely to be a top 8 national seed. And closing out the D1 baseball projected regional for Oklahoma, you have Oregon and Southeast Missouri State. Oregon, a team Oklahoma played game 1 of the season. They lost that game. Uh, but a team Oklahoma's familiar with, which I think that's another interesting one on is the committee going to go somewhere? Like it seems like all year these projections have been putting teams in Oklahoma's regional that they've already faced this year. So
Yeah.
that's we'll find out at 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, and what about any other projections from what would you say, Baseball America?
Yeah, Baseball America has Oklahoma as the 7th overall seed. And again, another team that Oklahoma faced in Arlington in there, 2-seeded Nebraska, the Cornhuskers. Oklahoma won that game in Arlington with the walk-off from Jackson Willits. His first career hit for Oklahoma was the game winner against the Cornhuskers.
Yeah, and I definitely would rather see Nebraska than LSU, to be honest with you. But we'll see. So they have 7 seed, and D1 has OU as the 8 seed, correct? Overall.
Yeah, and
That's
again,
pretty much, Hunter, that's going to be where they fall, 7 or 8, right?
I would lean 7 as of right now. Florida State got stomped in the ACC championship today by former Sooner Wallace Clark and the Duke Blue Devils winning the ACC championship. So I don't know how you could justify Florida State over OU in looking at those two schools head-to-head resumes. Florida State is a very good team, but again, both of them coming off of a conference championship loss. Oklahoma did win the regular season conference championship. So I think that's another thing that they kind of have over Florida State. And then Baseball America also has Georgia Tech and Bryant rounding out the regional there. I think there's one name that you kind of got to talk about, and it's a team that Oklahoma is very familiar with, and not for good reasons. They seems like they've never beat them, and that's Dallas Baptist. Dallas Baptist is very likely to be a 2 seed. I mean, it's Sunday night, the 16 hosts were revealed. Dallas Baptist not in there. They're going to be a 2 seed. Last year they went to Stillwater Regional. Again, they tend to get to a a regionally close regional. So I would expect it to be Oklahoma or Stillwater for Dallas Baptist and or Norman, that is. So if Oklahoma gets them, that's a team that they are 0-2 against this year, and it seemed like every time the 2 games that they played them in the midweek, they just were off. I mean, Dallas Baptist flat out beat them both times. Oklahoma got it close in the first game and then gave up a grand slam late in the game.
Well, and Hunter, I mean, that's a team that OU doesn't want to see, and neither does OSU, because Dallas Baptist has played OU and OSU very well. In fact, I heard Holiday talking about Dallas Baptist on an interview, and he was questioned about Dallas Baptist. He said, "Hey, they're flat out can hit the ball. They have guys that can hit it out of the park anytime, anywhere, and it's a tough matchup." So, yeah, I kind of right now I'm leaning that I think they're going to end up in Stillwater again, but I don't know. I mean that we'll see what happens in that situation. The good thing is OU would be throwing a better pitcher than they've thrown in the midweek games, right, Hunter? So I think that helps. But still,
all
not what
season, all season, the midweek starter has been just not good for Oklahoma. They haven't been able to find any sort of consistency there. Uh, that has been one that the one game a week at the minimum, even Sundays at times. They've tried out Grant Stevens, they've tried out Brendan Girton. Stevens, I think that he would be the Sunday guy in this regional because I mean, look at what he did against Kansas, inheriting at the time I think a 4-0 deficit. 6-0, 6 runs, not even tallied to his name, maybe one was there. And to be able to then deliver about 6 innings of really good baseball. Anytime he would give up hits, he's able to get out of it, not allowing another run to score after the second inning. And a big reason why Oklahoma won that game against Kansas to go to the Big 12 championship. And that's why Grant Stevens was on the All Big 12 tournament team. But for Dallas Baptist, you mentioned the power that they have. They've hit 111 home runs on the season. Oklahoma's only hit 68. So a big time power difference for the Sooners. So and Dallas Baptist, I mean L.Dale Mitchell especially, it seems like more times than not it's blowing out. So Dallas Baptist not a team you want to see. And then on the pitching side of things for them, like Oklahoma, they don't throw their ace in the midweek against teams like Oklahoma. So they would be throwing, I would assume, Ryan Johnson, who has a 1.98 ERA on the year, 100 innings, and 147 strikeouts. So a filthy starter for Dallas Baptist.
Yeah, I think what we can kind of take as looking at these projections is there's a really good chance that the 2 seed in Oklahoma's region is going to be a pretty good team and could be a team that hey, it could give you, and that's what happens when you get to the postseason, Hunter. And
Very
listen,
much so.
for OU, what's that?
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, there's 64 good baseball teams going to get their name called tomorrow at 11, and there's probably a dozen or so more that aren't getting their name called. So at this point in the year, every regional is going to have, at the bare minimum, 2 really good teams in it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Oklahoma right now, the fact that we're talking about them being a number 7 or 8 overall seed, an amazing year they've had so far under Skip Johnson. Really impressive season. Yeah, they didn't win the Big 12 tournament. They won the regular season. They were in the championship of the Big 12 tournament. And so great performance again in the postseason so far in Big 12 play. Now we're moving on to the regionals, and we'll see what happens. To get to Omaha, you got to have a great 2 weekends. And let's hope Oklahoma starts out with that this next weekend. We'll find out tomorrow where they land as far as who's in their region. We do know that they'll be hosting that regional. We'll find out who's in there with them tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Time selection show. So make sure you tune into that. We'll have a video after tomorrow at some point to talk about their path to Omaha. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Till next time, Boomer.